Hello everyone. I got a question regarding pickups, especially pickups with reversing. And we were discussing in the comments that you need to have a PT line in order to have um, actual passenger movements and pickups. And the problem with PT is that you can't have reversing, or at least not a straightforward way. And to solve that, in the new versions, there are features like when you can build a new, like a very simple reversing car park, and also you can have attribute modifications. So unfortunately, you need to use attribute modifications, or if you don't want that, you need to write a small script. In this video, I will do attribute modifications, and I would like to thank you before we get into that, my new Patreon subscriber. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. So in this video, I show the principles on how to do it. In the next video, I will show a more sophisticated way to deal with pedestrians. At the moment, it's just like a rough model using a signal controller to let pedestrians into the car. Later, I will fine tune it so people will wait in an area, hopefully, and they will move a bit better as well. So the way it works is first you need to place a car park. I'm not going to dwell a lot on this, but basically just use that tool. You make one and you just select left only. And here you can set up if you want reversing, if you don't want reversing, the parking duration, the direction change, time distribution. So how much time it will take for vehicle to reverse in or to from going straight to go back. You can also set up if you want vehicles to just forward in and then reverse out. Or they can just randomly choose like they can reverse in, but they can also go front in. So it doesn't matter. Either way you select, it will work. You should start by going to parking routing decisions. And here select a relatively long parking duration. That is important so the vehicle is not going to go away while we load the people in. And we will control that remaining dwell time. Next one, have a routing decision that covers the parking routing decision. Just make sure that there is one static routing that is covering that one. Then you placed everything. Then you need to place some areas for pedestrians. I have an area that is used for loading pedestrians in with a pedestrian input. I have here area 4 where pedestrians are basically waiting. Then I have a very short area here, and this area is basically a link, so I place the link. Then in the link you go to pedestrian area and you tick this one. And then you place a signal head on it. But you need to make sure that when you click on that signal head, then the link arrow shows towards this space. The signal control is just a simple one. Fixed time. Excuse me. You just create a signal group, a signal program, and you set it to permanent red. So there is not a lot to that. There is another area then, overlapping slightly, area 5, and then area 1, where the routing ends. So I have one pedestrian static route from the loading to the end. So pedestrian will try to get through. I keep this signal control red, and I will only allow one pedestrian through, and that pedestrian will disappear like it got into the car. It works fine with this, but if you want to make it look like a bus stop, I will make a video about that. We basically just need to spend a little bit more time to model the actual pedestrians. I don't want to spend time on this in this video because in this video it's more like the attribute modification part. So we can look into that later, but basically we will need to code in a pedestrian movement and a pedestrian model that works as a bus stop. It depends on your model again. If you need to model it, that video might be helpful for you. If you just want a simple one where pedestrians are there and they disappear, then this will do it as well. The way to deal with it is you need to use attribute modifications. You can do it in a different way. I just show one example. You can come up with your own system. The way it works is I have different modifications. Basically, each step I have one. I also made a user-defined attribute. PU state, like pick up state, and it is an object link object. And this is a text data type. It can be any data type. You can use integer as well, for example, or text. If you use integer, you just assign basically for each number a status. So like 1 is empty, 2 is waiting, 3 is about to leave, and so on. But with text, we are just going to write it. Then, when you have an attribute modification, again, I will not dwell a lot on the settings, basic settings. I have many other videos about that. You can check those out. But basically, there is an initialization that runs before simulation start, and it places empty into the PU state. As you can see, I put it to 1 the 2 times, but it's not necessary because it only runs once. So basically, when the model starts, I put empty into the PU state attribute. So when you click on a link, it has an attribute called PU state empty. If you can't see it there, you just go here, either in the quick access, or just scroll down and just add it by double clicking on it. So that's done. Then I go through step by step. Let me run the model so you can see what is going on. A vehicle will arrive around 40. As you can see, pedestrians arrive. It's not the most elegant way to model it because they are moving, not waiting. But in this case, it doesn't matter. We will make that better in the next video. A vehicle reverses in, a pedestrian gets in, and the car goes away. Then the next one comes in any moment. And this one we reversing, go in with the front. You can see the PU state is empty. There will be a green, a very quick one. One pedestrian gets across. I close it back immediately, the green to red. I change the vehicle and give it a dwell time of 5 seconds. I change the dwell time, so it waits 5 seconds, just assuming like the passenger needs to get in through the door, need to sit in. So the car is not like coming in and rushing away quickly. Then it goes away. So this is, and then the next comes, and so on and so on. And so after initializing, I create an attribute modification where the link and the PU state is the target attribute, and I update the PU state to loading. There are some filters, assuming that you have multiple spaces. You can create by the filter that this attribute modification will work on every single, will control every single link that has the space. So count vehicle greater than 0. So this will filter down all links to the ones on which there are vehicles. When you run the simulation, when you run the simulation and you have count vehicles, you can put it like vehicles from here, count. This is that attribute, and this is here as well. So when vehicles arrive, that becomes that we count basically vehicles. So wait a sec, and you see it's 1. So basically, when a vehicle appears here, when a vehicle appears there, that will be this will be true. Then the PU state is empty. So I want to filter down to links where there is a vehicle on it. The PU state is empty. And the lost vehicle dwell time is more than 5. So this is we need this in order to make sure that we don't change it to loading when we already basically loaded it. When we get there to the last steps, you will see why. Because basically the lost vehicle, we will check the lost vehicle's dwell time on that link. The lost vehicle's dwell time is more than 5. So 5 is what I update the dwell time to once the passenger got in. Once the passenger got in, I reduce the dwell time to 5. So this won't be true anymore. So basically that means there will be a vehicle there and it will be waiting for the dwell time. So just a bit of extra safety measure. Because it can be that we reset in the same moment maybe um, the the status or this PU state. Again, if you do it differently, you might use different filters, but in my system, this way it just works, so I just use that. Then, this is the next step where we change the signal group. So as you can see, the object type is signal group. Signal state is the attribute we are going to change. That signal group's attribute. Object filter, I just put it to number 1. Doesn't really need it because you already we only have 1. Just in case you have somewhere signals in your system or whatever, it's just easier to just filter it down. But you can use other filters, like if you have signals everywhere in your system and you have multiple car parks, you can use, like, instead of numbers, just can check if the link is pedestrian area where it is located or something like that. Then this is a table lookup. I made a separate video for this because I think it was hard for me to understand first. So I also embedded it into an if, but let's just look at the table lookup first. So in table lookup, I will query links, and L is the variable I use it here later in this table lookup function. Then the link number is 2. So I want to look up for a link. I want to look up a link that has the number of 2. And if it found that link, then the PU state loading. And if this is true, so on that PU state, I didn't explain better, so let me rephrase it. So I look for links that has a number of 2, and once it's find it, it will return the PU state of that link. Then I check it with an if function. So if this table lookup returns with the PU state, so it returns with the PU state, and if that PU state is loading, so if this is true, then I change the signal state to 3. If this is not true, I keep it in 1. 1 is red, 3 is green. You can check it in the com help. So again, link, I look for links. L is just the variable it use. You can put here whatever you want. You just need to use in every case the same. Yeah. It doesn't matter what, it's just a variable name. So I want to look for link number 2, and I want to return the PU state of that link. And if that is loading, so this equal loading is the if, then it changes the signal state to 3. So basically what that means is if this link is now in loading state, then I open the gate for the pedestrian to go in. So I change the signal to green. Once that's done, again, object type link PU state, I update the PU state to loading done. But I only do it for link number 2. You don't need this if you have multiple spaces. You can just use a different filter. Doesn't really need it here, just to practice basically a filter. But this is the key here, is the PU state is loading. So I want to filter down to links where the PU state is at loading and the lost vehicle's dwell time more than 0. So there is already a vehicle waiting there. Then loading is done. So I change the PU state to that. And then we need to stop people. So we change the signal group again and the signal state attribute for the signal group object. We filter down again the signal group to 1. As before, you don't necessarily need to use that. These are the key filters. You can get the attributes from either ComHelp or just by clicking on it and going through the little wrench icon, and you can see the attribute names. But ComHelp is more helpful, I think. Let me show you. just in case you haven't used it yet. So you can signal group attribute, signal state, basic state, runtime state. You click on it, you click on the value type, and it shows you the different values, what it refers to. Okay. So now here, the basic state is more than 0.5. So that means the current signal state has been running for at least half second, and the signal state is 3, so it is green. And so basically, with this I say, I only want the objects, so I only want to change the signal state. I only want to update the signal state for the signal group objects that is green and has been green for at least half a second. And then I make a table lookup again. Table lookup, again link. And as you can see here, so when I look for a link, I added two conditions. The first condition is that the PU state is at loading done. So I want to find a link that is loading done basically. And the last vehicle dwell time is over 5. So it is still there. And it's more than 5. So I haven't reused the dwell time yet. Then return 1. So basically if it finds this link, the table lookup will just return 1, just a number. So with this, I can basically just use it in an if, because what I say, if the table lookup results in 1, so that means there is a link that is loading done and has a vehicle with over 5-second dwell time on it. If that is 1, so if it's true, then I put it back to red, the signal. So the if statement, the first if statement is up to here. So if this is true, then the new signal state is 1. If that is not true, then it is 3, so remains green. Then there is a car leaving. I update again the PU state. When it's loading done, this number 2, I used it to just filter down to this link. You not necessarily need to do it that way. No. The way I know that the car can leave is by checking the pedestrian, checking that the pedestrian has passed the signal head. There is an attribute that shows the pedestrian's current element on which is walking on at the moment, the number of it. In this case, this area 5 can be used for that. So once the pedestrian is on it, you know that the car is basically ready to leave because the pedestrian will disappear in a moment. So I do it by looking up pedestrians, and I want to find a pedestrian that has the construction element number equal to 5. So I want to look for a pedestrian that has a construction element number equal to 5. Basically, that means I want to find a pedestrian that is on area number 5. Then I want to return that attribute value. So again, a table lookup, you just put the object, then the condition, then what do you want it to result in. So I want it to return with the construction element number. So basically I want it to return with 5. That means if there is a pedestrian that is on area 5, this table lookup will give me back 5. So with an if, I can check and I can say if that is 5 and also the PU state is loading done, then I change it to car leaving. If not true, then I keep it on loading done. To get rid of the vehicle, we use the dwell time attribute, cars and also pedestrians, where they stop at a stoplight, park on a parking space, or wait somewhere. They have a dwell time attribute counting back the same dwell time attribute. So if you have a parking duration of 30 seconds, your dwell time will be 30. Or if you have a stop sign that has a 30-second time distribution or a stopping time, then your dwell time in the vehicle, so it's a vehicle attribute, will be 30. If I want to change that, I need to select the object type vehicles in network and I target the attribute dwell time. I need to filter down vehicle and I filter it down by the dwell time is more than 5. That means I haven't set it to 5 yet. You can just use a user-defined attribute here and save 5 into that user-defined attribute as a constant if you want to be able to keep changing it without rewriting everything. So I have two conditions to filter. Dwell time more than 5. Again, you can click here and you can just select dwell time here, so you don't need to know how it is written. Yeah. Then I want the link PU state it is standing on at the moment to be car leaving. To access the link, you need to go to lane, lane. So from the top you go down to lane. Within lane, make sure that it has a little plus. So I want to access the attributes within a lane. Then you go to link. I want to access the attributes within link. If you just click link here, that would give you the number. Then within link, you go to PU state and click on it. So it will paste you this. And I want that to be equal to car leaving. And dwell time is the attribute we are targeting, and you put 5 there. So now I updated the dwell time, I reduced it to 5. So basically from now on, the vehicle will be staying there doing nothing. Pedestrians will not move either. It will wait for 5 seconds, and when 5 seconds has passed, it will go out. Then the last step is to reset PU state, because the link still had the car leaving. And now I filter down link objects that has a PU state of car leaving, but still the vehicle is on it. And I just put empty. And once it's back at empty, a new vehicle can come, can trigger the PU state to go to loading. Then loading can trigger the signal group. Then the signal group can trigger loading done. Then loading done can trigger stop people. Then car leaving, then reduce dwell time, and then reset again. So it keep going. With in the next video will be, I think, to model vehicles pickups where the vehicle is bidirectional, so it can go into a space, then go out, then go, then go, then go without reversing. So it just goes in, then goes that way, then goes this way, then goes that way. So if you want to see that, make sure you are subscribed. If you like to see more videos, or if you want to support me, please consider liking and subscribing. Also, if you want to go to the next level, you can go to my Patreon page and you can support me with a few dollars. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one.